What's up with PM? This is Resek, MTA, UTI, West Coast Art, TMT. Come check out my show on Classic Burners with Big Skill and Ultra.
Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Today on Classic Burners, we have the privilege of having the entrepreneur of graffiti here. Jay-Z, Kanye West, move aside, because today in the house we have Resek from the MTA crew and UTI in the house. So we're going to get into some very cool stories here with my brother. As everyone knows, out in the Bay Area, we linked up and we knew each other from LA, but we linked up in the Bay and really had a strong run out there. So you guys are going to get a lot of insight on that very exciting time that happened around between 2012 and 2015, 16 or something like that. But anyways, enough about that. Introductions. Resek, thank you for coming. Give it up. Give me some love. You know,
Appreciate you having me here, Skilly.
Always, bro. This show is for all the people out there that are doing it, but that sometimes a lot of people don't have access to talk to and to get to know you a little bit better, like on a personal level. So now we're gonna get to know your history a little bit, why you are Resek, you know what I'm saying, and how you overcame and why, what makes you a special person in our community. Okay, so why don't we take it to how you found out about graffiti? Let's talk about the origins, where you first saw it, what made you want to start writing, all that kind of stuff, which is your story.
Of course, I seen it in like Beat Street and stuff like that. But pretty much when I was coming up in graffiti, everybody did graffiti. There was nobody who didn't do graffiti. I was around, like, you know, I feel like that was graffiti's, say, hot moments in LA, like 88, 89, where everybody in your whole school would do graffiti. Everybody had a tag. We wasn't really out going doing damage, but everybody had a tag and thought they was doing graffiti, and everybody was from a tagging crew. It was that era where pretty much it had everybody. That's when I got into graffiti at school, but I always looked at graffiti. I think the first graffiti piece I ever took a picture of was a chrome silver that Clay had by the Fox Hills Mall, side of the bridge. Simple. I think it was 2 or 3 colors, but it was funky. You know, traditional, like East Coast, bar style, funk. But for some reason, I always read graffiti when I was young, or tried to understand it, the graffiti I could read, and it was very interesting to me.
Okay, so now you start getting wind of graffiti. Did you have another name before Resek?
Yeah, I had several names before Resek. Just a lot of them. I was a toy back then, so I didn't really do much damage or make a name for myself, or I might have picked a name that was already a name of someone else that I had to pay that homage to and just dropped the name until I was able to find the name that suited me.
Okay, that's a pretty common story. You know, most writers go through that. Nobody rarely starts off with one first name and they hit it. You know, it's pretty rare. Most of the time they go through a few names before they find that name. Where was the first areas that you hit, and what was the style of graph you were doing?
Riding the bus going home, you know. At that time, I used to live in Inglewood when I was younger, and we used to take the bus all the way. My mom never wanted me to go to school in Inglewood, so she used to have me going to school way out, man. So I used to take the bus sometimes from like the Palisades all the way to Inglewood. And Fox Hills Mall back then was a mecca for graffiti writers. It was a mecca for writing, and I used to write on everything between school there, racking on the way home, and graffiti. My relationship with graffiti started with the time after school on the way home. The racking, meeting all the new people, new crew of kids, finding ways to come up and being able to get up was my early relationship with graffiti.
Any writers that we might know that you ran with in those days?
That days, it was a lot of the MBTs and NTSs that would be at Fox Hills back then. They used to be on the buses. A lot of the RBs was back then.
Like Rasta and Darce and them kind of guys?
Yeah, like Darce, Rasta, Rear was killing buses. Rear was the king of buses back then for that era. He had scribes, front end, back end. Booker, Cappuccino, and all them had scribes. But that era was more like Size, Delore, Isha, Rum, Season, Rasp. Some of the kids from AK back then was like the ones that was kind of like piecing back then to be over there at Fox Hills. But like the whole little Fox Hills Mall, little clique right there, because that's where my bus transfer was, and that's where I was racking my skids and jabols at.
All right. So now a young Resek takes it up a notch now, and you start doing pieces. So tell me, what made you want to get into piecing, and how did you start that?
Piecing has always been like the ultimate to me. Like, anybody can tag, but can you do a piece? That's why I don't understand this new era. Everybody be like, I'm a bomber, I'm a piecer. Like, when I was coming up in graffiti, I wanted to do everything, and I wanted to be able to do everything good. That was the goal. So I always wanted to piece, and I always wanted to get better. So I always would try to sketch. I'd always ask people, you know what I'm saying, to give me pointers and stuff when I was trying to come up, and I would always listen, and I just never gave up. And I never put myself in one bracket.
Fresh. And then shortly after that, now we're pushing it over into the later 90s. You took it a step further, and you got into actually a rap group called Gershwin, correct?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that group?
The group, we did a lot of shows. We did about 5 shows a week. We had a lot of motion for our era out here in LA for the time it was in, the time it was done. I feel like it did good for what it did for me. I feel like it's underground hip hop. We didn't expect much from it. We're just a whole bunch of friends just trying to make music and make songs. And we get together, make songs.
You guys perform a lot of shows.
Yeah, we performed a lot of shows. We performed at Coachella when it first started. Performed at Smokeout. We were getting booked for everything back then. We even had write-ups in the Source and stuff like that back then. So Gershwin had a lot of, we say, personalities and stuff because it was a big group. So a lot of people went different directions. I was more in the streets, more so than the rest of the people in the group. So sometimes I'd be like the outcast. Sometimes I'm the life of the party. I feel like I wasn't the most lyrical on those albums, but I feel like I brought the crowd. Like, I brought the crowd, and anybody will tell you that was from there. I brought the crowd. I brought the audience. I was the swag of the albums, if that made sense.
Well, which brings, this is important to your story, to the premise that we said in the beginning of how, like, so one of your gifts is that you have an incredible drive to make ideas and concepts happen. Like you don't have any limitations. And I think from what I saw you as a young man in those days, because we had SP Magazine and you guys were promoting around then, you would be promoting hard. And I think you were one of the main dudes that got a job promoting. You'd get paid to bomb, like grassroots underground production, like hitting posters and stickers, all kinds of flyers.
I was getting paid back then to piece.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting paid back then to bomb. I was pretty much sponsored. I figured a way to sponsor myself with the graffiti. And it was cool for like that era, because back then, $1,000 was more than what $1,000 is now. I used to get like $1,000 in the account. And what I was doing is I ran street promo teams and stuff where I handled the polls, sticker accounts. You a clothing company that wanted to get popping in LA, I'll get that account. You trying to come out with the brand, I'll get that account. And I would have to turn in proof of what I'm doing. You give me your target areas, so I have to exceed your expectations. And I used to go hard with that shit, and I did it for Universal. I did it for MCA. I did it for Raucus. I even got arrested, got locked up for this shit because I was going hard. Weed Pace, we used to even get billboards. We did it all back then. The shame was my job got taken by youngsters that wanted to be able to be backstage with the stars that wasn't even old enough to be at the concerts. So they ended up getting them to bomb for free. And then like the real ones like
little
me,
thirsty people.
Yeah, and soon, and soon people like us got kind of cut out. I already moved on to bigger, better things because I saw that, we say that wave coming, but that whole era was a fun era. It taught me a lot about the game. It taught me a lot about relationships. It taught me a lot about venues and taught me a lot about business.
And yeah, the power of guerrilla marketing too. Huh?
Yes.
That's you were pioneering that, because in those days that was barely starting.
I was like, I was also like a broker. Because I had the relationships with the accounts, with the label executives and stuff like that, I was able to put other people on and feed other people to do the same thing. Right. I'll take a little bit off the top, man, but I'm saying, and everybody would make money.
All right, that's solid. Now, right around that era too, now you're part of CBS. You end up like leveling up. They recognize your talent, they recognize your game, and they put you down. So tell me about that experience.
CBS is a funny story because my first relationship or my first contact with CBS was I was locked up like a rehab when I was younger. They thought I was smoking weed or whatever. They put me in some weird ass rehab, North Hollywood or somewhere up here called Avalon. So they had a level system. So I got on the highest motherfucking level you can get on, so I could break out that bitch. Go to AA meeting, I'm gonna run, get the fuck on. And I had this little shorty I was talking to, so I got the fuck on. Banged little shorty out, and she was a sandwich lady, had big ass house and all that shit. I'm up in her house, eating a sandwich, banging her out. Then her dad come home. I get kicked out, got no place to go. I go home, they try to send me back to that bullshit ass place. So somehow she knew this motherfucker that's living in Anger's backyard, and he was growing weed back then and all that shit. I was young as fuck back then. I was a minor back then. And somehow I ended up in his backyard, and that's how I met Anger and the CBS's.
Wow. And then, so you guys hit it off, and he said, I'm going to put you down with this?
Huh?
No, in other words,
I was still a kid back then.
Okay.
Okay.
That's how you met him.
That's how I met him.
Okay.
And then when NATO got down with CBS, I started coming back around and and seeing them again and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. And then you guys just kept building.
But for a while though, I stayed in Anger's backyard like as a runaway for like 5 days when I was a kid.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of the dude's name. He mentioned like a back house he was growing weed in a little back house. Long time ago, back when Anger used to wear the turban.
Wow.
A long time ago.
Then that is a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then, so at what point did you level up, and how'd you level up to get in CBS?
I just wanted to be in a crew with people piecing and stuff like that, but I didn't want to break my integrity of who I was. So I spent a lot of time, many years, getting to know them. I was coming around CBS probably like around 5-6 years before I even actually got on.
Okay.
For like a long time.
Okay, fresh. All right, and then, but eventually, as time went on, you moved on, right? I think maybe there was a split between MTA and CBS or something.
Yeah,
like
I had to
right?
pick. Everybody had to pick one. The way it was laid out.
Okay.
I felt MTA needed me more, and I had more of a relationship. I felt like with MTA, I had a very good relationship with everybody in CBS too. Still do to this day. So it's not like that, but I had to pick a choice, and at that point, I was more on my street shit in that time of my life, and the people that I was running the streets was from the was MTAs, and the direction my life was going. I think I was even, what you say, I would have been maybe collateral damage to CBS. If that makes sense. My own little way, little things that we had going on in our.
Okay. So at this point, you're pushing MTA hard, and now you continued piecing and developing your piecing styles. Can you describe a little bit about when you got up a lot in LA doing those pieces and characters? Can you describe the style?
I decided the styles. I feel like it's half West Coast and half East Coast. I consider it traditional graffiti. I feel like it got a real, like hip hop background to it, funk. I like all styles of graffiti. I like the new age, I like the whippets and all the other stuff people do. But the stuff that I really like, that's in my heart's that old school New York funk, and that's the shit that influenced me. And I try to put a little bit of a West Coast twist to it. And I try to still learn to this day, see little things. And for a while, I felt like my letters were real stiff and too hard. And now I learn how to bend them or make them move and dance a little bit more now. And I try to play with things and just learn from them.
Fresh. And you're one of the people that can do characters and letters. I really enjoy your characters, but I don't see you doing them as much as you used to. Why is that?
I feel like what graffiti is to me is, first off, graffiti is illegal. Second off, graffiti is about letters. This is just my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. Characters and all that shit's background. I could do the characters and all that shit, but that's not what made my dick hard or what I really came here to do. I came here to paint my name. Now, if a character after I paint my name is going to make my name look fresher, I'm going to paint some characters. I got some extra time and some paint. I'll paint a background. Mm-hmm. But I'm not like it's my street arts and craft. And that's kind of like the rules how I was taught. Like I was taught like characters and everything secondary. You had to do everything. You're supposed to be able to tag, throw ups, you're supposed to be able to do it all. Pieces, characters, backgrounds, all that. But your name, them letters, graffiti's about letters, them letters was before everything. Like these motherfuckers could paint dope ass characters, dope ass background, but they don't got no fucking letters. So they're good ass artists, but not good graffiti artists to me. You gotta have some letters, because letters is graffiti.
Right. Absolutely. I would agree with that. Now, now you're a veteran in the game already at this point, now like in the 2000s, whatever, and you come out with some rap. You're one of the first dudes to really focus in on graffiti writer rap under, was it the Cobra CLA crew?
Yeah, I did the Cobra.
And you did
Cobra
underground
Lost.
tapes for the writers, right?
Yeah. I did that, but looking back, I should have been a pop artist.
Yeah. Why? Talk about it.
Because like we rebelled against all that money shit we was coming up, because we was getting money. We was trapping before the word trap, racking, boosting, doing all that. But I feel like sometimes we tried too hard to be underground where we sabotaged ourselves.
Good point.
Because there's a lot of people that had that same underground style, but they had a team that wasn't a whole bunch of dick suckers and yes men that would actually point them in the right direction to lead them to a bag. And at the end of the day, man, these babies can't eat no book skill.
Yep. Right.
That's all. So like, we didn't do it for the money. We did it because it was in the heart. We did it but that's sometimes where keeping it real go wrong. Because yeah, you ain't doing it for the money. You're doing it because you have to do it. You're doing it for the art form. But how many art forms you gonna do in your life for that? Is one art form gonna pay you? You're doing 10 art forms. You're doing it all for the love. Ain't no cheese coming back. You didn't get none of those art forms for the cheese. But shit, man, if I was to go to school for 5 years, and even if I didn't go to school for the cheese, in 5 years I have some degrees that could bring back some cheese.
Yeah.
We're training ourselves with certain skills to be better at certain things. So I look at it like the music, like graffiti. What's the object of graffiti? Is to get up, to have fame. With music, the mission should be to be heard.
So what you're saying is you learned a lesson how you shot yourself in the foot by so-called keeping it real, when your talents and your business mind could have thought of opened up to different avenues and could have probably ended up better off financially, which then you could fund your underground stuff.
Correct. Or I could have did exactly what I was doing, dude, but did it in a different type of way, where I didn't have to really change too much, but just have a better team around me. You're only as strong as your team, and I could have went all the way. But when you're trying to like limit yourself and say that you're gonna do this or you're gonna be under here or you're underground, Ice-T fucked my head up. I'm gonna break it down. Ice-T clowned me one day. Cause Ice-T was trying to give me a deal back in the day when I was fucking with Silver and all this, when he had House Records.
Black Silver, the Navigator.
Yeah, and he was talking.
Shouts.
He was talking about, man, all that underground shit commercial too. So we talking about, man, that underground shit, underground. He goes, no, anything with the audience is commercial. It's how you capitalize it off of it, how you make your money.
Okay, so Ice-T spit some game right there.
So with that being said, it's like a lot of people try to put themselves in these categories to sabotage yourself. Like you look at people like that are underground rappers, like let's say like Conway or like Benny the Butcher or like West Side Gun. They got that old school like underground rap, but they're able to get that mainstream money with it because they have the right approach. It's not that the music got to change or your substance got to change. You just got to have the right approach. You
have to have a different mindset.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Well, that's cool. You learned some things from that experience. Now, you decide to go figure out another way to take care of your, you know what I mean, to fund your creative endeavors, and you move up to the Bay. I mean, anything you want to say about that transition?
My whole shit was that, man. I went to the Bay to try to put out some music shit I was doing when I was a kid, and I realized, man, fuck that. I ain't doing that shit. I said, man, I made some money here to put out these albums. I can go over here and do these tours, or I can stay right here and be rich. Fuck them albums. For real. So I made some money. Making more money, man. I was making money. I couldn't believe how much money I was making. Motherfucker want to go do some graffiti, dog. I could build a whole warehouse full of paint if I wanted to. So it was like everything I was doing was for myself. I had nothing to prove to nobody no more. It's like I didn't care about making no music. I only cared about graffiti because graffiti was the battle within myself.
But what was really interesting is that at that time, too, you had these resources, but you also used them to elevate, like, your personal style. You made a very expensive MTA, your crew gold chain. Talk about stuff like that. Like, you became a master of bling for writers. Up until that point, no writer had bling like that. And I mean, I'm talking about how you dressed, the cars you rolled. Talk about all
So
that.
back then, it was like in that little era of me getting money, I wasn't in LA as much as I used to be. And I was traveling a lot of other cities. And during that time, I wanted to feed inspiration to show anybody they can get anything, you know? And I felt like with the chain stuff, I got a lot of hatred from the train, even from my own homies. I had people try to line me up for the chain, all different types of stuff.
And we're gonna put a picture of it, but that thing had diamonds and everything.
I'll bring that shit by, man. If I knew you were talking about the chain, I would have wore the chain here.
Well, you got your lip coat chain too.
Yeah,
That's
this
cut
little
from
chain, like the
same
big, the
mold.
MTA chain, a kilo just in gold, gold alone. It was a different era. Back then, I was hanging out with like a lot of street dudes, not really graffiti riders. I respected all the graffiti riders. I participated in the sport that we called a sport, but we were on different shit. These motherfuckers wanted to sniff cocaine like anteaters and do a whole bunch of bullshit. And I was trying to get money, and I try not to judge nobody or anything like that. That's why I'm loved by so many people, because I show everybody love. Before we can start fighting and doing all that shit, I'm gonna be out respectfully. You know what I'm saying? I give everybody their props. I even give my enemies props. Even people that want to diss me or whatever, they do something amazing. I say that shit's fucking amazing. Am I gonna fuck them up when I see them? Yeah, I'm gonna try my best to. You know what I'm saying? But was his work amazing? Yeah, I've never been a hater like that. You know, if that makes sense.
No, you gave credit where it was due.
But like my last graffiti run though, I did it with writers. You was there a part of it, but then a lot of times before I had you guys, if I wasn't there with you, I was there with like the other people I was trapping with. You know what I mean? And those are the people I'd be in my yard, and they didn't know nothing about graffiti, hip hop, or any of that. You know, so it got to a point in my life where it was a separation from graffiti, but I was there. Where I come through, I bless the people that's rocking with me. I make sure they got paint, make sure people have walls. So for my crew come pull up, I make sure they safe, they good. But the people I have watching their back most of the time wasn't even graffiti writers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was people from the actual neighborhood they painting at.
Yeah.
I really fuck with the neighborhood where I be at, and wherever city I went to or wherever I painted, I never wanted to be a gentrificator. I always try to give the writers from that city an invitation, even ones I knew that was hating on me for being there, from being from my city, and they didn't want me there or whatever. I said, you know what, I'm throwing these big ass productions in your neighborhood. I want you to come paint them with me. I think it fucked their head up, because they were like, why you calling? He knows I don't like that motherfucker. He knows I be talking shit, but then eventually, dude, they come see them productions, say, you know what, thanks for inviting me. You know, you did it right, this and that. You know, they ain't come paint with me, man. Those type of bonds, and sometimes they do come paint with me, but those would build those friendships and stuff like that.
That respect.
That respect, because I didn't want to come. I treated everybody like, well, if some out-of-towners came to your neighborhood and just try to take over and just do all this shit. So it's like whenever I go out of town, of course, you bombing, you trying to take shit the fuck over. But at the same time, you got to be respectful. It's a thin line. How do you take everything to fuck over and be respectful at the same time? So what I do is I try to reach out to people in the community. I try to reach out to all the riders there in the neighborhood. Like, yo, I'm in your section. I'm here for a week. You all want to paint? Mm-hmm. I try to
work with the people there.
And then I know my shit's going to run a little bit better. They're going to be able to tell me, yo, over there's hot. Over here's like that. They're going to be able to give me their real culture. They say, this is the bomb-ass food right here. This is like the authentic stuff that no one knows about. This is the history of this area right here. They give me the real rundown and lineage of where I'm at, where I'm traveling, and where my graffiti's at, versus me just painting some blocks. I don't even know what block I'm on, and never even go back there and I don't even know nothing about that city or that neighborhood.
Okay. So that's a perfect segue into what the next topic is. They ended up labeling us the style manipulators of the East. And that's because in 2011, I had been in the Bay Area, but not on some graffiti stuff. You know, I'd already been just, you know, attending church, you know, just doing my own thing, you know, focused on just, you know, personal development, other things, ran with other people, you know what I'm saying? And but I still, you know, when I touched down in the Bay, I went to Vogue shop, said hi, let them know I was in town, ran into a man, you know. So the chances that I could run into some writers, I just greet them, say hi, respectfully, you know. And then I went to Estria's battle, okay, in 2011. And when I got there, who do I see rolling up with a big smile on his face? It was Resek.
Yeah. From
that point on, we exchanged numbers. Resek would call me and be like, I'll be like, I'm not interested in no graffiti at all. And Resek's like, come on, Skill, man. You know, you still got it in you. Let's do something. Come on. And I would say, no. And you know how you got me?
Bible study for a burner.
Well, not that one. You know how you got me really though, because you made it where it wasn't like unreasonable, and it was a way that I could help you. You appealed to me for help in a way, in a good, nice way. Which you had a big wall. He said, "Skid, this is a big wall to handle.
Yeah.
We could use some characters. Can you just come and contribute a character? That's all I'm asking. Just a quick character, whatever." And I thought about it. I said, brother's been asking me for a minute, and I can do that. You know what I mean? That's no big deal, right? I still had some scrap cans from some art project I done. So I said, I'll just burn these scrap cans over there. I show up and Resek has a wall all set up and he's painting. He's got dudes and they're doing a production. And I see a spot right there. I said, a B-boy would fit perfectly right here. He still didn't even notice me.
No.
Within 15, 20, 30 minutes, I already had a colorful B-boy just about finished when he finally, Skill, you came, dude. And from that point on, because the way first of all, you had Crash 2, a local king, there present, which greeted us and we connected with him. I felt good. I felt like, this is something we're connecting with the locals. 2, you had a great vibe going on. You had a real beautiful car bumping music, a big boom box that was all graffitied out and dope, and it was bumping tunes. You had people coming by, like just in fresh cars, like people from the sideshows and stuff, just pulling up and just showing love. It became a big community thing. And I said, you know what, this is pretty cool, So the next time we worked together, we did it once, twice, and then that steamrolled.
Hey, off subject though, man. You just brought back some stuff, because I didn't even know you was painting there. And do you remember I took you to your first sideshow?
Yeah, I did.
Hey, that shit was lit. The shit was lit. And it crazy. Before all that crazy shit though, it was fun though.
Well, the cars and all part is fun, but I'm talking
about before the
violence.
I'm talking about before the violence. Before the violence. Before the violence, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was
I ain't
fun.
never going back. I'm never going back again. But that's one thing is that you always also were into motors. Like you had classic cars, dope ones with rims. Yeah. Some of the most rare ones.
I got a big car collection still to this day.
Yeah.
Anything with the motor, I try to go crazy in it. I don't give a fuck if it's a helicopter, airplane, a car, automobile.
You used to do all the donuts and used to do all that crazy stuff.
I love cars. I love danger. I love being dangerous.
Yep. That's why you and Seaver got along so well. Because Seaver's a Bay Area legend out there.
Especially with the cars.
He's an underground rider that's been doing it for years, but he's also into cars and motors and stuff. And so you guys connected pretty well on that level. Yeah. Props to Seaver 640.
Seaver legend with the stealing with the Seaver legend with the racking. He was the first person to do the big hangover on the Bay Bridge, climb the Bay Bridge and put his name up top with the graffiti shit. Mm-hmm. And he's been had hot cars since back in the day, man.
He's underrated, and he's a dude we definitely need to get on his show, to tell his story, because that dude has done so much that a lot of people don't really know about him.
We heard about him before we even met, before I even saw his graffiti, before I went to the Bay. I just heard it was this crazy dude out there. He'd be riding on everything, man. And, he'd be fucking with the Grand Nashes, had them big turbos before. Motherfuckers were putting their turbos and stuff. We were with the modified car scene and stuff like that. Heard he was going crazy. And he had this station wagon that was spanking everybody we used to hear about down here.
Yeah. So from there, let's talk about the Style Manipulators and East Productions. You tell it from your perspective.
Well, the Style Manipulator Productions was like, I feel like when I got with Skill, before I got with Skill, I was more just like real destructive, bombing, still like loving like that ugly graffiti, like the drips and all that. When I got to Skill, it was like a different point because I'm getting people into graffiti. Like most of the walls, the people at the walls were graffiti writers that was with us, holding us down, that came to our productions. There were people all from them neighborhoods. And I was trying to give them something beautiful for them to look at every day. And I feel like that's when me and Skill got together and said, we decide what our kids want to see every day. The neighborhood should be able to choose what their kids want to see every day. And, these people pay for these advertising, show this shit in their face, man. Fuck them. We're going to put what we want here. So I felt like we were painting stuff that would appeal to the neighborhood with the colors and stuff we choose. All the people from the neighborhood would pull up in their whips and stuff, take their photos and stuff. A lot of the colors and the feel sometimes would match their cars and their rims and, jump off. It would have a certain feel or like a vibe to it. And but in Oakland, especially like the Deep East was the only time, like there's been times where we've been invited to people's house for graffiti and fed food, home cooked food and stuff like that. Don't even happen in other countries and stuff. So I never when we painted the East, the run we had was the most amazing run I ever been on, and I never been treated that way ever in my life painting graffiti. Besides there,
So the East Oakland part, when we were there doing this run, was really run down. It was really really heavily gang, a lot of activity, things like that. So we were entering some very risky areas. We also picked strategic buildings that they were abandoned. There was a whole big stretch of abandoned buildings that were going to be demolished, but they were all just messed up, looks dirty, trash everywhere, scraggly. And was so beautiful. As part of our beautification project, we'd plan out concept murals with usually a positive message, or even if it was just graffiti, but colorful, bright, backgrounds, characters. And then we befriended like the little writers that would come around and some of the homeless dudes. One of them turned out to be Wizard, an old school writer from that area. And just several other homeless dudes. And what we would do is we put them to work. We would pay them a little money or treat them to some food or something, and then say, hey, here's some trash bags. Go clean up all this trash around here. And these dudes started cleaning up the neighborhood. Neighbors would walk by. We'd be nice to them. And I think one of the climaxes was one day, I don't think you were there that day. I was with Prize. And we were working on the smooth jazz production. It was all reds with reds. And two dudes in a suit walk up to the fence, because there was a fence right there. And they say, you're the one doing this, huh? I said, yes, sir. I said, how you doing? I'm skilled. I just walked right up to him, yeah. They said, who gave you permission to do this? I said, nobody. We're grassroots. We're just artists from the community that have seen this rundown abandoned building and this whole area depleted. And we decided just to take positive action on from ourselves. We're sponsoring ourselves or paying everything to beautify the neighborhood. And you know what? The dude said, I like it. I'm Councilman so-and-so from the 11th District. He gave me his business card. He said, you guys just keep doing what you're doing. Have you met Erase yet? So out there in Oakland, in East Oakland, the man who buffs the graffiti was called Mr. Erase. He had a nickname because he considered himself like a writer. Yeah. Because he said, and when he pulled up one day, and I talked with him in his van, and he goes, he pops up in his van. He has all these stickers of writers and tags in the back. He says, I know all the writers. Like when they get busted, they come do community service with me, and I erase graffiti and stuff like that. And I don't buff the nice, when it's a piece like and stuff like what you guys are doing, I'm down with it. I'm cool. He goes, as far as I'm concerned, we won't buff over your stuff, but just, make sure you keep it on abandoned buildings and, beautify what needs to be beautified. And as a matter of fact, I'll pitch in some paint. And dude actually went to my work and dropped off a 7-gallon bucket of baby blue paint that we use as the background for the Armor of God production. Yeah. So we had support, like from that grassroots was born a support, even from the city, recognizing like, damn, these dudes are making a difference in this neighborhood.
Yeah, we got sweated by everybody over there. We went to that neighborhood. We got sweated by the East Bay Dragons. We made the friends and relationship with them. Yeah. They controlled that neighborhood. We got sweated by the Border Brothers. Yeah. They controlled that neighborhood. Yeah. Built a relationship with them. We built a relationship with everybody we had to do to be able to paint the malls in that little area right there in that section.
Everybody. Norteños, Sureños, Border Brothers. Yeah. The East Bay Dragons. We because everyone's going to peep you out. Like, what are you guys? Who are you? And we built relationships with everybody. And it got to the point where like cars would just roll, everyone knew us, and it was all love. Like people would roll by honking horns, taking photo ops in front of the productions. You'd roll up there and make the scene live with your rides.
I think that's what it was though too. It was more than just us painting. All of us had old schools. A lot of us had old schools at the time, drop tops and verts, and we're jumping out the old schools. It was like almost like a show, and money was plentiful back then for some of us, so it was able for us, like for the people that money wasn't plentiful, we made sure everybody had paint. We made sure everybody was good. We made sure everybody had food. It was nobody was hungry. Like nobody didn't have the colors. They finished their shit. Like everybody had everything they needed. Yep. We were good.
Yep. And then big props out to Khufu. So Khufu was one of the ones that we early joined. Can you describe and talk about Khufu, who was a force in Oakland?
Khufu, big backbone of Oakland, him and Prize 6.
Rest in peace, Prize.
They did a lot for me. They brought me around. Anybody who's pretty much met me when I was doing my run in Oakland met Khufu, because Khufu was always with me. him and Skill were my right hand, right there. As far as like, if I painted with anybody out there, it was Khufu, Skill, or Prize. It was one of them three where I was out by myself. I paint with a lot of other people too, but I was very selective who can come pull up on me every day, and who knew where I live and stuff like that. And it's only a few people that could come to my house like that. And those were some of the people that could come to my house, pull up, get me outside, get me bombing, get me painting. Khufu had a real, say, New York-based funky style with the West Coast twist to it. I could see like the East Coast influence, and also like the TDK influence from Dream and stuff for the styles. He do everything real good, tag, piece, characters, and he's an activist in his community. He take motherfuckers that's locked up and fucking up their life and get them on the right path. He was someone in the trenches with me, or around a lot of bullshit, and he still managed to go to school and get his master's degree and all that. He's an amazing individual, man. He's someone I respect a lot, and I get a lot of inspiration from.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the beautiful part about it is that what we were doing, the energy, was very influential. I talked to a lot of people that later on would say, like, dude, when you guys were doing that run, we'd look forward on Facebook and Instagram every week because we just couldn't wait to see what production, or you guys were banging them out like just steadily, banging out pieces, banging out productions.
Yeah, 2 productions at least every week.
Yeah,
popping up.
And then apart from that, you were getting up, like doing pieces, just more like individual pieces. You were way more active than I was, which led from East Oakland. It opened up the doors to the West, to San Francisco, to Berkeley, and you were going out doing productions in other cities.
I think I got over 100 pieces still running in the Bay, and I haven't painted in over 7 years.
Yeah, and
so
at the
something.
peak, there was probably several hundred.
Several hundred.
Well done.
Several hundred before. Yeah,
full
I
color.
lost a lot, but I know I have at least a C note still running.
Yeah, and
in the Bay.
Some with Prize, rest in peace, still running. Yeah. So that was incredible, and then in typical Resek fashion, you're always pushing for something, to like, let's break the mold. Let's go something bigger, better. And let's talk about some of the giant size productions and pieces that we did.
Well, our whole shit was to go big, always. That was always our motto. And, like spot jockers ruined the wall. Sometimes you would paint something fresh and everybody spot jocks and the shit get buff. But shit would never got buffed and then I'll spot jock it. And come like a whole bunch of little bee stings. You know what I'm saying? So I said, fuck it, let's paint the whole wall. Paint the whole wall, no one can paint next to it. So that was my whole shit, like, we're gonna go paint something, let's just paint the whole fucking wall.
All right.
We can't do a production, but let's make our piece or our 2 pieces take up this whole fucking wall. But let's leave no space for spot jockers. And that was, like that it's like that with trains, or like the last big spots I was catching, that was my whole mindset. Is if I'm going to paint anything, I'm painting the whole thing. I don't even want to paint. I have no interest in painting it unless I can paint the whole thing.
Yeah, just we were going big. At that point, we just kept steady doing really big top to bottom pieces, wild styles even.
And it's like after it gets to a certain level, it's like, how do you beat that? Mm-hmm. How can we go bigger than that? What wall can I find that we can go bigger on there and get a photo, but one of us stand in front of this shit to show that this one's twice as big as the last one?
Okay. One of my great memories of that run was now of the big run, because these were like now in downtown and other areas, was the one in the Fruitvale district. No, not Fruitvale, Jingletown. It's an old neighborhood.
That's my favorite too.
Okay, and so I want you to talk about that adventure because that one was very unique in what we had to do to pull that off.
We had to do a lot of manual labor, man. We had to like mow the lawn, man, cut down trees and chainsaw shit, like knock down shit, dog. Like it was all these high grasses growing on the building, man. Like you couldn't even see the wall. So before we could even paint the wall, we had to prep the wall. Like, like you go paint a train, you got to put all your tapes up over the numbers and over the reflectors and stuff like that. We had to prep that wall. And it was good, 8 to 12 hours work with 5 of us. So imagine,
and this was after work. We all met there in the evening until like late in, like 2, 3 in the morning. We barely finished because it was like bamboo. It was a whole field. It was like cutting a forest.
And then
down.
after we cut everything down, the pile was so big it defeated the purpose. Like it's like we cut everything down and knocked down the wall, but then the pile of junk was so big you couldn't see the wall still, and it's still blocking the wall.
And
so then we was like, where do we move this pile of junk of all these tree leaves and bushes and bullshit? It was a lot of bullshit.
we filled up bags and you took them to the dump or something. Remember? So you rented a U-Haul.
I rented a U-Haul to clear it out.
And then we kept the U-Haul on site with paint.
Yeah.
Our storage all
No, the
locked
U-Haul
up.
emptied it out all the garbage, and then we came back with the paint, the ladders, the jetpacks, and them ready to go.
Yep, that was dope, dude. And we work in the night. We had lights out there. Remember, we had lights out there. We had everything.
We had everything we needed. It was
We
just
had
like three of
everything we
us.
needed. We'd work at night after work. We'd go in and worked on this top to bottom wild style. So I'm gonna post the pictures up there so people could see, the size of it and everything. Which to me, it's a proud accomplishment considering what we had to work with.
It is big. It's probably probably the biggest one I ever worked on, as far as height wise. And then there was obstacles there because there was like a trench, and then we had a lot of difficulties with the wall. I ain't gonna say no names, but Kufu almost got into a fight with someone there at the wall. There was almost another fight at the wall. There was some
Because
shit
it
with
was
the
right in the
car.
wide open. People were walking up on us and all that.
And then the police almost shut it down.
Yeah.
So it's just like we had a lot of obstacles also
Yeah.
with that wall. And, most of our walls, we had a whole bunch of obstacles. There's been times me and you's been in handcuffs, and then you be saying you say a prayer, and I look at you like you're crazy, like we're going to jail anyway, and then the handcuffs come off, and I'll say we're good. Or like, it'd be some weird shit. So I've been through some weird shit with your skills. Like, and the one time in Frisco on mission, we were handcuffed. I thought we were going. They let us go. They weren't even tripping. And what was the other time, man? That building, I feel like it's cursed because I almost got banged up there too with grief, and almost got locked up there twice at that wall right there.
That
wall,
the silver one.
Yeah, that one right there. Yeah, I always had issues right there at that wall.
Yeah, but we overcame, man. And because we put a positive message. Remember, we did a giant boom box and a big piece that said free, and how we've been set free. How like through the inner spiritual development. Like no one can bind us. Like you could put cuffs on our arms or whatever, but you can't put us in jail because we're already free. You can put us in a cell, but we're free.
Our mind is free. You can't enslave what's free. And what's the mind? You only can free the physical. You enslave the physical. You can enslave our body, but if our mind doesn't want to be a prisoner, our mind's free. Our thoughts is free. Mm-hmm. You can only try to prevent us from thinking the way we're going to think. We're always going to think the way we want to think. We free souls.
Absolutely.
Free minds.
And we throw a shout out to Jingletown, to the neighborhood. Kufu put a poem right there. So it was all together a feel good. We left there like, I think doing a good thing,
Yeah, definitely.
And it was inspirational, So
it was real, we were painting that. Everybody was pulling up. It was a whole bunch of people just pulling up. I don't even know that I knew where they were painting, man. We had a lot of motion right there. We had a lot of motion on a lot of our walls. A lot of people pulled up. I feel like that time was a magical time with graffiti in Oakland, and it was wide open, and we took good advantage of it, and we did some positive shit. We didn't create violence and bullshit when we was out there. We decorated the city, and set up some real dope productions, painted some big burners, and I feel like you pushed me a lot to sharpen my skills, and I give you a lot of credit for that because if I wasn't painting with you and having that push, I don't feel like I would have improved as much as I improved. And I feel like you knew how to push me and how to keep me pushing, and you knew how to give me positive criticism, I was at a point in my life where I didn't really care about criticism. I don't care about what's likable, what's not likable. I was at a point in my life I'm just battles within myself, but you would know how to tell me, or I'll start like doing like little things. I don't know. You had a certain way to be able to communicate with me where I could really soak it in.
Which, at the end of the day, that's where you earned your crown. It's a trip, but you actually like established an undoubtable crown as a graffiti king. Because at one point there, you were up everywhere with pieces, and so it's interesting, how it took to be out there in a different change of environment, and that's where you really got to that king level, And so we're going to now go back into coming back to LA. Now, this is where it gets really exciting because now all that experience, you take it up, ratchet it up another notch, bro. And you start up your shop called Litco. So tell us about the Litco story because it's a whole lifestyle that you created.
Litco was something I created for the underdogs, the have-nots of my city, or the have-nots of the world. It's a worldwide thing now. Well, kind of like the same thing what you did with me, like how you harnessed my skills and pushed me to my limits. I know how dangerous idle time is. Idle time gets people locked up in prison, fucked up. So I gave a place for the youth to go in their idle time and sharpen their skills, no matter what it's doing. And we do a lot of stunts. We're a lot of stunt riders. We defy death. We defy laws of nature. Stuff with a lot of stuff we do with Litco. But how I've been able to create Litco is doing a lot of stuff I learned from you, actually. You know how to bring a lot of people together. You always brought a lot of people together, especially with like UTI. You brought a lot of people together that's not supposed to be together on the same card, that's supposed to be each other's ops, and somehow you get them both to be in the same graffiti crew together. So it's pretty much what I try to do with Litco. Is Litco's all hoods. I got a lot of people from Litco that's not supposed to be in the room together, and the neighborhoods and shit that they from ain't supposed to be fucking with each other. But for the love for art or stunt riding or whatever we're doing under the Litco umbrella, people look the other way, and it shows that we can coexist. Like, we can't stop the problems and things that we stuck in, but we can coexist, and we can learn to respect each other and love each other. We can make money together. We can have lines of communication with each other, and that's pretty much what I've done at Litco.
And so let's talk about some of the different branches of Litco, because Litco, you've got amazing different cultural things in the lifestyle that you're pushing. So let's talk about the different aspects of it, from the skateboarding, the
we have graffiti,
the vehicles. And
we have graffiti, man, and I just want to give a graffiti shout out to the ones that's been really pushing the Litco graffiti hard. So I want to say what's up to my boy Muke's been going hard, Fleet's been going hard, A Night's been going hard, Bliss been going hard, Off Grid. Those, I just wanted to give them a quick shout out, man. Aceborn for sure. Aceborn's been the backbone to the art. Plex been going hard, definitely, 100% Instro. Thanks too. You painted the front side.
Dope. Hex too. Huh?
Yeah, Hex for sure.
All right.
Destroyer too.
Okay, fresh, dude. Now, skateboarding. You guys got now Litco skateboarding.
Yeah, we got a skateboard team. I signed 2 skateboarders from Brazil. They have an amazing story, and they pretty much skateboarded all the way here. They raw, and now we have a whole team. Came out with the deck. One of the decks represent LA, and one represents the city in Brazil where he's from. He got an amazing story. He come from a struggle that I could relate to. And both of our skaters are amazing individuals. You can check them out at Litco Skateboards.
Okay, now how about the Litco bike team?
So we have 2 divisions as far as Litco bikes go. We have Litco pedal bikes, and we also have Litco like dirt bikes and ATVs. So the Litco pedal bikes, my boy Chris Thrasher has been the backbone to that too. But it goes all the way back to like 5th and Flower, way back in the days. We used to have a little rider's bench there and be hustling and stuff with all the bike messengers and stuff like that. A lot of the riders be back there. It's like the newer generation that came out of that. And we got a lot of people on pedal bikes tripping that rep Litco. We also have a lot of people on the dirt bikes and ATVs that rep Litco too.
You guys are putting great footage, really cool stunts and really talented people. And tell me, what is that? The dudes are jumping off the buildings, doing weird stuff?
Yeah, we jump off the buildings.
Building to building?
Jump off buildings.
What is that called?
Base jumping, but that's the most dangerous. See, like anybody could jump out of an airplane and pull a parachute. See, a lot of people don't consider, when you jump off a building, let's say theoretically I want to jump off a building, break into this building, jump off this building. I can't just break into the building and just jump off the building. I have to theoretically have to break into all the buildings on the block. So I got to put flags up on those buildings. Because when I get to that building before I jump, I got to be able to look at the flags. So I got to make sure my parachute going to open. And if there's a vortex and like there's no wind tunnel there, or like my parachute don't open up because the wind ain't right, because sometimes there's fucked up wind pockets, I'm smashed. Or anybody jumps out that shit, smashed. So it's a lot of, things look easier than what they really are.
Okay, but I tell you one thing, it looks amazing. It looks like Superman stuff.
Yeah, so we do a lot of base jumps. Big shout out to the base team, base jump Ramones, Kimbo, Connor London, my boy B. They've been killing it as far as the wingsuit game goes. Base jump, skydiving. Those are some of the main hitters as far as the bike life and dirt bike, man. My boy Colin Cash, he kills it on the bikes. He's one of my main Litco hitters, man. He go crazy, man.
Fresh. Now, what before we're gonna wrap this up, but I want to talk about one special aspect that I always really admired about you, and it's like it's your love for animals. Like you always had a cool love for animals, always had interesting animals and pets, and you had always a way with them. Tell me, how did that come about, or what's up with that?
When I ended up going to the mountains and growing weed when I left LA before I moved to the Bay, I was out there growing a whole bunch of weed and shit. I was stuck in the mountains, man, talking to that volleyball like Tom Hanks. No power, no running electricity. Started to get this thing called cabin fever. And I started getting annoyed with the homies that was out there with me in the tents and shit like that. So I'll sag off. I'm like, I'll get little on them. Because we also had this thing, man, where if you had anything from the outside world that they couldn't have, you get socked in the chest 10 to 15 times for everything. So like this, imagine you up there in the bush, and every time someone goes up there to bring you some supplies, you risk getting all your weed and everything you work for found. So you want to limit all those supply runs. And so you get cigarettes, you get something like that. You get like the stuff that everybody wants. But now everybody wants cigarettes. Now there's not enough cigarettes for everybody. And it ain't like no one could go to the store and just get some cigarettes. So we made a rule to cut down store runs. Every day they had to come from the store, get punched in the chest, you get caught with it because we're supposed to quit. But ain't nobody ever quit. So you get caught smoking the cigarettes. So we would everybody was smoking cigarettes, but everybody was making them cigarettes last because you couldn't get no more cigarettes. And everybody would just like sag off so far because he would have nowhere to catch you smoking a cigarette. So in the midst of doing all that sagging off stuff, I started fucking with the animals. I'm trapping animals. I'm bored than the motherfucker out there. Studying the animals, building a relationship with animals. I was gonna die up there in that motherfucking hill, man. And for some reason, I just started understanding them. I guess the definition of love is understanding, and I guess I love the animals enough to understand them, and I got an understanding for animals.
Yeah, because I've seen like animals come up to you and stuff, and like you like start, they kind of like listen to you and stuff.
It's something. I got dominion over all beasts.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm gonna end it with this cool Resek story. I'm gonna share for everybody out there because a lot of writers know that Resek has falcons or had hawks and falcons, and as a falconer, and just so you know, he's a professional licensed falconer, trained, got his everything.
Wait, hold on. Mm-hmm. You all want to nerd out right now? I'm a master falconer.
Oh, okay, okay. And so, and I was a witness to the beginning of the whole thing. So one day he says, Skilly, I'm going to do this seriously. I saw this. I'm passionate for it. I really want to do this. And so I said, well, how are you going to get one? He says, the rule of it to start falconing is you have to personally capture your falcon.
You got to get a wild one.
So Resek, I remember he'd get up at like 3 or 4 in the morning to go like to places like Livermore and just boony places that had falcons and hawks and stuff. And he started like stalking them, looking for them and everything. And he finally, after many failed attempts, I thought he's probably never going to get one. But then he shows up with a big one.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, look, I got one." And so Resek, dude, has a cage ready for it and everything. He'd been serious about it, so he had already had like a setup. And man, that bird was mean.
Yes, but I wanted to do hood rat stuff with my friend.
It was a tough bird, and every day he patiently like work with it, and he kept learning as he was studying on how to do it. He kept trial and error and trial and get scratched up, get attacked. But little by little, there was started to be progress. I watched the falcon start like eating out of his hand and start letting him pet him. And before you know it, he had him on his glove and it was able to walk around the house with the falcon. And it progressed to where him and that falcon, I saw them connect. And it just reached a certain level of understanding where he was able to publicly go with the falcon and he would just stay on his arm, and he could like make it fly or whatever he wanted to do, and it was like his friend. So now this is the kicker that really made me laugh, because he ended up going for his license. I remember when he was crunching and studying, and to pass that test, it's a really hard test. And then you have to also there's a whole panel of like experienced falconers, and they won't just let anybody do it, like to get that license. And it was a strenuous process. So when it was the time for him to show up now to present his falcon, Resek pulls up with his falcon, and they said, "That's a red-tailed hawk," or something like that.
No, it was a Cooper. It was a Cooper's hawk.
Cooper was, but it
was supposed to have that.
Yeah, they said nobody's ever trained, or we don't train those. They're too vicious.
They're vicious.
Like, they're untrainable. Like, how did you do that? And he's like, "What are you talking about? This is my friend." So he was so passionate because nobody could tell him that you can't do it. He did it, and that is Resek in a nutshell. Like, he'll come up with an idea, he'll see a vision, and he'll go after it, that dream. And whether he's not going to let you tell him I can't do it. He believes he can do it. If you put your mind to it, he'll find a way. And that's why I respect you, my brother. Love.
Thank you, Ken.
Right? Inspiration, brother. Thank you, brother, for being that example of like no limits.
No, I want to thank you for being in my life too, because there's been a lot of times in Oakland I was going to crash out and stuff like that, and you forced me down with one of your Bible studies or other stuff like that. And and sometimes, I'll ask you questions, and sometimes I could tell it might have rubbed you the wrong way, whatever, but you're patient with me, and you sit there, you explain things to me, and you, no matter what, you was always our brother. When things was go down, whatever, it was for the right reason, you was outside with us, man. I ain't gonna ever go into detail, man, but you was always outside. If it was for the right reason, you was outside, man. You stood on real business, and you stood for the right things. And I'm very grateful and lucky to have a friend like you in my life, not even a friend, a family member, and a brother like you in my life, man. Real talk, man.
God bless you, my brother, always. And for all of you, we're going to sign out on that note of solidness, and just let you know that, appreciate your friends. Appreciate the people, good people God puts in your life. And because time is a very valuable resource, our most precious resource, and don't waste it. Use it to be a better person, to be a loving person, to build community, and to show love. With that, we're going to sign out. Any last words, any last shouts, Resek?
Yeah, man. It was two things that you said to me I just wanted to explain. You said that I was always good at like trying to create something out of nothing. So like my secret with that is I believe my own bullshit that's not real until it becomes so real I can physically touch it and everybody else is forced to believe it. So like the goal is, like, anybody out there, dream big, believe in your dreams. You don't believe in your dreams are never gonna be real, and no one else is gonna believe in you because you don't believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams, believe in your bullshit so real you can touch it and the rest of the world's forced to believe it and recognize it and see that it's real.
Word. Peace. Classic Burners signing out.
Peace.
Because time is our most precious resource, always remember that every minute, every second, and every moment matters. So let's do our best to live a kind, compassionate, and loving life. And God willing, we'll see you in the next episode. One.
Monstro, Rocker, Dolly. The natives are restless. Yeah, I say the natives are restless. The natives are restless. Rocker, Irish science. Let's go, let's go. Yo, let's gather here a second, take in the atmosphere. As I steer this vessel like a Chevrolet Cavalier, I'm a native to this culture, chasing vultures up out of here. Fuck out of here, a lot of work put in like Vladimir. We dismissing fear. Listen here, if your loyalty shifts over clout to the point where you disappeared and disappear, you overlooked those who wrote the book. How does that work? How you a factor when there's gaps in your chapters? Let's cancel the chatter off the grid, damage your scanner, shed some light in this tavern and hold this mic just like a lantern. I don't settle for the standard or nestle in the pasture, turn a happy camper into a snack for a pack of panthers. My pops would often reminisce on the mothership landing and then become sad in it how the brothers disbanded over money mismanaged and tradition.